of God and of which the dead generations from which she receives her old traditional nationhood. Ireland through us summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through us, her secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through the open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army have patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself. She now seizes that moment and, supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, by replying in the first of on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfundamental control of Irish destinies, to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long occupation of the right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to nation freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in arms, standing on that fundamental right, and again asserting it in arms in the face of the world. We hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as sovereign independent state. We pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled and hereby claims the allegiance of everyday Irishmen and women. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberties, equal rights, equal opportunities to all citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and all its parents, cherishing all her children of nation equally and obviously. The different carefully fostered by an alien government which has divided a minority from the majority in the past, until our arms have been the opportune moment for establishment of a permanent national government representative of the whole people of Ireland and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women. The provisional government hereby constitutes and will administrate the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by carelessness, inhumanity, or rapine. In the supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of her children, to sacrifice themselves for the common good, to prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called. Signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas J. Clark, Sean McDermott, Thomas McDermott, P.H. Pearce, Eamon Kent, James Connolly and Joseph Plunkett.
With his certificate of participation. I would like to ask Sean O'Mahony to come to the podium just to give us another short historical account of the upcoming events.
Sean O'Mahony is Santa Rosa, is Kiri me, Acta Sullivan, Nakar Sheshin Tá anna bhainte gom na car corpaí agus cúnta corpaí bas íorthar corpaí maithar agus tá rith sé I cogan na saoirse ach d'aistrigh sé go cíorí tar éis an Conradh. Is as jócail I mearthar corpaí ma bhain céile agus tá mo iníon cíara lilse I bhór gcónaí I bhór measc I Ballyphehane. Hosing me I gobur it is ach in 1963 manhas I gong na héireann agus dimmer me pel le cuman pel neftran bara non bars ar glein sifran. Tá simfeile agam in éirí amach na chásca mar trúga bliain áhin de scríos leabhar ar Combegévan Frangach. Sin an Combegévan ar cumada beag na 2000 cimí cogaí tar éis an éirí amach I lá tuiscot na bretan bige. Agus ina measc bhí breis scór agus céad corcaíoch agus trúr go hátha bhfuil anna cáil agus má héan sibh sé isteachtaí an uig I reling déobh Canberra na 3 uig oscar córamach na tréalach semna an mé ar corcaí Tomás ó Torton a dún maríoch san cáir seo agus an trúú fear na duine bharaí a fórbás isteach coparas I rith an Aimshire and Stairstart. People of Ballyphehane, I'm delighted to be with you. I think you deserve great credit for doing this work, which is very important in my opinion, because the 1916 Rising was a watershed in Irish history. Out of it, we have what sovereignty we have in the 26 counties, and the fact that we can run our own affairs and make our own laws. Now, I have a few pros to pluck with people today. One person in particular that I would like to take on is John Bruton. John Bruton, I think Albert Reynolds referred to him as John Yonanis, and everybody said it was a Freudian slip, but he was very close to the bone. He's incessantly peddling Redmondism and denigrating the people of 1916 Rising about their mandates and so on. He never refers to the context of the First World War and all the enormous slaughter that took place in the trenches in Passchendaele and Somme. He's always talking about mandates, but there's no reference ever to what mandate the British government ever enjoyed in this country to rule and make laws for the people here. He says that Home Rule was on the statute book in 1914, and that may very well be. But after the 1918 imperial election, when the majority of this country voted for Sinn Féin and we opted for a secessionist state, one would have thought if the British were generous that they would say, there you are, the Irish people have spoken. But that was not their response. Their response was to send over their army, auxiliaries and black and tans. In other words, it was the classic response to trouble in Ireland, where they responded with military might. and that was the only thing they knew. And it didn't matter whether it was a Liberal government, whether it was a Conservative government, or it was a Labour government, it was always thus. When the government set out on this whole commemoration programme, I was a bit alarmed. And the reason I was alarmed, Minister Humphreys and her department, Arts, Culture and Development, produced a video which had absolutely nothing to do with the 1916 Rising. Those of you who saw it will share my anxiety about this. We had Bono, we had Bob Geldof, we had the Queen of England, we had David Cameron, Prime Minister of England, we had Brian O'Driscoll scoring a try, and we had a camogie player. All fine stuff, but nothing whatsoever about the Rising and the people here who gave their lives for the freedom that we enjoy. I do know that the government brought in a man called Concannon, and he seemed to have grabbed the problem by the scruff of the neck, and I do know that every local authority and every county council within the state now have a comprehensive programme to commemorate the 1916 Rising. So any anxieties I had about whether it would be neglected or whether it would be used for political advantage, I'm not as concerned about that anymore. Very lately, Martin McGuinness, the leader of Sinn Féin in the 6 counties, he says that they're going to revisit the issue or think again about how they're going to commemorate the Somme and the 1916 Rising and so on. Now, I think this is very insidious myself, and I would like to nail it on the head. We cannot equate the volunteers who fought for Irish freedom. These were men, unpaid, who stayed at home and fought for the freedom of this country. Other people opted to join Redmond and join the British Army. It was clearly an imperialist adventure. They went off to kill Turks, Germans and Austrians. None of these people, by the way, never did an injury to this country. But that was their choice, and they died in great slaughter, and it was clearly very wrong, and these people were misled, and so on. Now, in case people think I'm being partisan here, I'd like to have a go at Fianna Fáil as well. Over there, I brought down the Starry House, the first time it has been exhibited in 100 years. It flew over Liberty Hall, and when Ahern was Taoiseach, I took that into his office, and he hummed and he hawed. Clearly, I'm a custodian of it, and I felt that the state should have custody of it because it's a very fragile bit of material. And he declined. So I took my flag home again with me. Now, sometime later, President Higgins was over in Windsor Castle being entertained by the Queen of England. The flags of the Irish regiments that were demobbed on the foundation of this state. I'm talking about the Munster Fusiliers, the Dublin Fusiliers, and the Connacht Rangers and so on. And Bertie Ahern went public and he says, those flags should be given to us. And I'm putting it to him and to anybody else, that flag is a flag of an Irish army that fought for the freedom of this country, and the flags that the people in the British Army, he wanted them, and he would refuse to take my one. I saw furthermore, one of his ministers, Michael Smith, Minister of Defence, went up to unveil a memorial over a man called Cochrane, a sergeant of the Connacht Rangers, who won a Victoria Cross. What did he win it for? He won it for his suppression of Indian people and their struggle for independence. And I think that was a disgraceful thing for him to do. If the British want to honour their own dead, let them do so, but I don't think it's an obligation on this state to honour their dead. Every year in Dublin Castle, or in the Garden National, whatever it is, Kilmainham Hospital, they hold a ceremony in memory of all Irishmen who died in foreign wars. And to my mind, that's bogus, it's fraudulent. Why we would honour people who went out to kill Aboriginal Australians, Native Americans, Afghanistanis, Kenyans, Cypriots, Adenese, South Africans, Boers, Nigerians. and indeed ourselves, why we would honour people who fought in those wars. I think it would be more in our line for this state to commemorate all the native peoples and indigenous peoples that were killed by imperialist armies, by Irishmen serving in imperialist armies. That would be much more in their line. Sorry, I might listen to a lot this evening now, but I'm nearly finished anyway. Now, one last person to have a go at, and that's your own native-born revisionist historian, John A. Murphy. In that proclamation that young Staunton read to us, it has 6 times in the last 300 years they have asserted it in arms. Clearly we're referring to the 1641 rising, we had the Jacobite Wars of 1690, we had the rising of the United Irishmen in 1798, we had the uprising of Robert Emmet in 1803, we had the Young Irelanders in 1848, and we had the Fenians in 1867. I see that as a continuous struggle. The only difference is that sometimes it was fought more vigorously than others, but the contest of sovereignty of this island against the English was always contested. Never any doubt in my mind about that. But Murphy maintains this is nonsense. I don't think it's nonsense. And in fact, I go further that if the proclamation was being written today, 100 years on, that statement would have to say 10 times in the past 400 years we have asserted it in arms. Because you would have to add 1916 itself, you would have had to add the War of Independence and the Civil War, and if you like, the struggle in the 6 counties over the past 40 years. Again, Ushla, Tommy, unbreaktive, as what Mullock August Tassulgum, make Torma, Agisha, St. Lucian Shaw, Ata Shulgum, Erin Leon. Tom Quinter, Willid Brodul, as Duhik Shaw, August Shradna, Anima Gugulair, Teresh Latina, a full boss, Concierge doing it, August Sears and Artier of Wintermark. Tommy Beck.
I'm just going to move on to the end, to the pageantry that we're moving on to the song, the dance, okay? But before I move on, I would like to say that what we put together here costs money. We've set up a draw and we've asked people to support the draw as we go through the next couple of weeks. The first prize is at Robert Ballyphehane, and so maybe on the way out, again we're trying to keep this as low cost to the community as possible. Most of the events are absolutely free, but we do need some level of financial support for our efforts. Okay? So I'm going to move the thing forward, and we're going to ask the Joe Denise, the Moriarty School of Dance, to perform their piece on grace. Carmina Vilmont.
Travel near and old.
Amen.